Now, the national dialogue on coalitions wraps up today. The gathering has not been without disagreement, though. The ANC wants the party with the most votes to lead coalitions. But the Freedom Front Plus and Good Party disagree. eNCA senior reporter Siphamandla Goge joins us now with the latest details. Good morning to you, Siphamandla. Just talk us through, first and foremost, I think the point and purpose of these dialogues.
Well, this is set to design a framework that will assist in dealing with future coalition agreements and the current situation at the local government. Our viewers would recall that there is chaos that is going on in a number of hung councils across the country, particularly in Gauteng, with a number of big metros that are really, unstable. They are unable to operate effectively, and that has affected the provision of basic services for the residents of those hung councils. At the center and the gist of this dialogue is the issue of what needs to be done to ensure that coalition governments work in South Africa. Currently, they are not working, but there are other countries, there are best international practices whereby hung councils have worked, where coalition governments have been successful. So there have been speakers from other countries which have gone through the same or similar process with South Africa, who have been sharing their experiences. But the better part of the day yesterday was dedicated to political parties making their inputs, their statements to say how do they view this quagmire currently, and moving forward, what is it that they are proposing in dealing with the issue of coalition governments. Remember, they will be forced by the electorate to negotiate, as it has happened in the local government sphere. So you would characterize this gathering as a gathering of political parties that are panicking, that are psychologically preparing themselves to say, if the electorate does not grant any one of us the outright majority, how do we move forward in forming coalition governments? Who are we going to work with? On what basis are we going to work with that person? But they are trying to have a general understanding and consensus to say, listen, in the best interest of the country, because if you have this chaos that is going on at the local government level, spiraling to the provincial and national government, basically the entire governance system in South Africa will collapse, because currently some hung councils are unable to meet, they are unable to pass budgets, they are unable to process IDPs, and if that were to happen at a provincial and national government level, it will be catastrophic. So these political parties, driven by one thing and one thing only, and that is the political interest of getting power and sharing power among themselves, because they exist to contest power. In this case, they are saying, if none of us is able to make it with the outright majority, how do we deal with that one moving forward? And the former mayor of the city of Johannesburg, Parkster, who is the current deputy minister of traditional affairs and cooperative governance, made an input saying no matter what happens, these talks must produce a framework, or at least some sort of a beginner's program in terms of ensuring that the framework that will lead to stable coalitions is in place in South Africa. Let's take a listen to him.
Is of course to encourage our provincial governments, which are responsible for the establishment of local government, to amend the establishment notices in terms of Section 12 of the Municipal Structures Act, because that would enable us to create an environment in which you change from an executive mayoral system to an executive committee system in terms of the Section 12 notice. So we certainly should be advocating for provincial governments to consider amending Section 12 notices, and therefore creating the necessary stability in local government. Because right now what we're all concerned about is stability in the system of local government. So these amendments should be put to a fore so that we're able to consider them together with councils, but all of civil society participating in a conversation around creating the stability that we so much need in our municipalities. And therefore, we certainly think that these amendments would assist in creating stability in local government. Thank you very much.
Siphamandla, I think let's expand on some of the challenges that there is seen around coalitions. There seems to be disagreements on who should lead. What are some of the bones of contention?
One is the proposal to have the legislation that will govern the issue of coalition governments and the threshold to say what percentage needs to be accepted when dealing with these negotiations. So there are a number of proposals here, and it would appear to me that at the center of disagreements is a proposal that has been made by the governing African National Congress, supported by the Democratic Alliance in a way. The ANC says any political party that is able to register the highest number of votes should be able to lead in the formation of the coalition government. Let's put it this way. In other words, if the ANC gets 30 votes and the other party gets 4 votes, the ANC says they must be able to lead in the formation of the coalition government. Now there's a problem with that because currently in terms of the legislative requirement, it's 50+1 for any party to be able to form a government. So the so-called smaller parties are saying no. If we have to negotiate, the fact that the electorate would have forced us to negotiate, it doesn't matter if you've got 30 votes, one has 4 votes. We negotiate on equal basis. We must be treated as equals because the fact that we have to negotiate, it means there is no winner. So therefore, we are all equal. Let's start on the same footing. There should be no prerequisite which says anyone with the highest number of votes must form the government because that party wouldn't have received the outright majority. So that's one point of it all. And the ANC is pushing for the legislation that will govern this to ensure that coalitions are legislated and the way to negotiate and probably implement coalitions moving forward should be guided by this legislation that they are pushing for. So other parties are saying, hang on, you are coming to this dialogue and you want to hear our views, but you have already concluded, you have a predetermined outcome and conclusion of what you would want to see happening. That in a way is a bullying tactic which led to the ATM walking out of this gathering because they were alleging that the ANC is using bullying tactics, it's not negotiating in good faith. So therefore they say this gathering for 2 days will not produce any positive outcomes. However, according to them, they allege that basically other political parties are being used here to legitimize what they say is a delegitimate process. It's the same thing with Good Party. Patricia de Lille was very furious yesterday saying this is a farce because already it appears that the ANC and the DA, according to Good, have in a way colluded and their submissions are similar. What they are pushing for is almost similar, just minor differences here and there. So other parties feel aggrieved, including the Freedom Front Plus, which does not agree with the proposal of the ANC to say a party with the highest number of votes must lead in forming the coalition government. Let's take a listen to Patricia de Lille.
Well, as you know, we're starting the debate from a discussion document where the Deputy President articulated 6 principles. And from Good, we support 5 of the 6 principles. But the 6th principle that they are proposing, which is to put a threshold onto entering of legislatures and parliament, I think that is arrogant. They know that it's unconstitutional. Why propose, if you want a solution, propose something that's unconstitutional? And certainly we will not accept a threshold. Our constitution is clear. We work on proportional representation. We've got a very diverse country, and therefore we cannot change from proportionality.
Siphamandla, we see that 1 or 2 delegates have taken their seats already this morning. Just outline for us the program for today and what the expectations are.
The program, it would appear to me that is slightly delayed. We were meant to get underway at 8 o'clock, just relatively empty for now. My colleague Kyle will show you what is happening. Very few delegates are making their way inside. Preparations and final logistics still underway here. But what we expect to happen today is that there will be a report back on commissions that took place yesterday. Political parties will come and they will report back, and after that report back there will be a discussion and final inputs that will be made by political parties as to what is it that they want to see happening moving forward. So look at this as a start of this, project, the coalition government's project, whereby political parties are coming together now to start this discussion to say what happens moving forward. There will be declarations that will be unpacked here. Allow me to remind our viewers also that the EFF did not attend this dialogue. Yesterday their name was called, their representative was asked to come to the podium and take his or her 10 minutes, just make the party statement and input. There was no response. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, acknowledged the EFF, but there was no one from the EFF. One of the program directors, Professor Thuli Madonsela, also called them to the podium, but there was no response. So today we expect a report back to this gathering. The plenary commissions, broke out yesterday and they had those discussions. Today they will report back. There will be declarations, resolutions and proposals, but this is just the start of many engagements to follow, and I can bet my last cent if there is no outright winner in next year's general election, you will see a lot of negotiation, a lot of horse trading up until the last minute of the formation of that government.
And just lastly, Siphamandla, we are expected to hear from the Deputy President, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed, yesterday he addressed the gathering. He was the keynote speaker yesterday. He addressed the gathering. According to the initial program, President Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa was supposed to address yesterday, but because of his hectic diary, we are told he couldn't make it to this gathering. So the Deputy President has already addressed. He's been pleading with political parties to negotiate in the best interests of the country's national interests, saying political parties need to put aside their political differences. They must think about what is at stake here for the country should there be chaos. So he was basically urging political parties to say, yes, I understand we differ politically, ideologically, and we've got different constituencies and we've got different supporters, but at the end of the day we are all South Africans. No matter what we do, let's negotiate in the best interest of the country. So that was his message yesterday, and we expect that here either the Deputy President or any one of the high-profile representatives will participate at the closing of this gathering. Let me also tell our viewers that former President Kgalema Motlanthe attended yesterday's session. We expect that he might come today too.
Well, thank you very much, Siphamandla, for setting the scene and just providing some insights as to what we can expect.